without further ado, I'm so happy to see everybody here today. This is great. Thank you for coming to this Inform Your Community Know-It-All event. My name is Stacy. My pronouns are she and her. I've got, well, today anyway, pink hair, and I have a gray sweater with a pink striped shirt underneath. And my background is a kind of white, and it's actually a real background, by the way, a white flowery type looking thing. Closed captioning should be enabled, or anyway, it will be shortly. So you can turn that on if you're interested in that. At Inform Your Community, we offer important, wonderful events that are packed with fun, where you also learn about important information. You can visit us at www.informyourcommunity.org. You can find our media links on the bottom for social media, and you can also ask your friends and family to sign up for our mailing list on the top right at www.informyourcommunity.org. If you're watching this video on our YouTube channel, take a moment to like and subscribe. And of course, we always welcome donations. Currently, all of our events are free. Even our crafting events, we send the materials for free. So to help maintain that, please consider donating if you're able to. So this event that we're here for today is part of our Know-It-All event, where we invite experts to come and get together and talk about important issues. And today's topic is LGBTQ plus pride. This is an important topic for many reasons, but just an example, we can highlight some interesting statistics about this topic. According to a 2013 Pew study, 41% LGBT adults said that when they were aged 10 to 14, that is when they first felt that they might not be straight. Yet 43% of LGBT adults said that when they were 20 and older, before they first told a close friend or family member that they might be in the LGBTQ community. So you can see there's quite a gap there about people's comfort and abilities to disclose something that they'd probably been thinking for a very long time. Additionally, 54% of respondents self-identified as LGBTQ plus, and say who I self-identified as LGBTQ plus said that they had a hidden relationship in order to avoid discrimination. And that's according to a June 2020 survey by the Center for American Progress. So clearly it's an important topic throughout our discussion today. If you do have questions or comments, feel free to use the chat function, raise your hand emoji, and join in the discussion. Today we have two amazing guests with us. I'm very happy to welcome them to us today for our discussion about LGBTQ Pride, and that is Amy Evans, who is a life coach working to create a safe space for communication with family members and in families. She is a mom of a gay son and a soul mom to many more people. She has watched parents and their LGBTQ plus kids struggle to connect through misunderstanding and anger. And her work is assisting these families to bridge the gap so that they can have healthy and honest communication. So we're so glad to have you here, Amy. Thank you for that, for joining us. And additionally, we have Tyler Lacruba, who is the founder of Beneath the Identity, where they build community and empower their members to elevate the power of their voice. As an author and advocate for the LGBTQ plus community, their belief, and I do love this, their belief is that if I want someone to have patience with me, I need to have patience with them as well. And that allows them to create safe spaces where anyone can ask questions and learn more about the community. And we'll certainly have that today. So last but not least, we have Adriel Fernandez, and he is our Know-It-All Program Director and our very gracious facilitator for today's event. So without further ado, I will go ahead and get Adriel up here. And I look forward to hearing the discussion, Adriel.
All right, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. So, yeah, just like Anastasia has introduced me, my name is Adriel Fernandez. I am the Know-It-All Program Director, and I'll be facilitating today's LGBTQ plus Pride event. And you know what? Thank you so much for introducing me, and thank you so much for all of you guys for joining us. So first, I'd like to welcome our guest panelists. Amy and Tyler. And I would like you guys, if you can, to briefly introduce yourselves and let us know your expertise regarding LGBTQ plus Pride, and how did you become involved in this space?
Tyler, am I going first?
You could go first. Fine.
So I will tell you, Adriel, I worked on a soap opera in Los Angeles, which is, I witnessed many gay people suffering through the AIDS crisis. I'm old. So when I was in my 20s, people were dying. I didn't, it was horrific. It was horrific, and the fear and the misunderstanding was horrific. So I've always been really connected with this community. Also, I was raised in a really religious home, so sex was so forbidden that I can kind of understand how victims of repression feel. So I've always felt really, and then I met Tyler, and I really like our generational gap, because I'm kind of like on the parent end and they're kind of on the, younger generation end. And we see things pretty similarly. So it's been really interesting. And we're running groups to get kids to talk to their parents, and parents to not be, I don't want to say a bad word, to not be judgmental. Okay, I'm complete.
Um, so I'm Tyler. My pronouns are they, them. I kind of got involved in the space, I guess, in high school. It was really my first exposure to it. And it was like we had a group of us at the bus stop who always like hung out, and we would stay outside and hang out. Um, and two of the people in that group who were female started dating each other, and I was just kind of like, oh, okay, I didn't know you could do that, but that's cool. And like everybody else at the bus stop who had like no clue what was going on were like, wait, are you saying you would do that too? And I'm like, I mean, if we liked each other, I don't see why not. Like, like that makes sense to me. Um, and then as I moved through high school, I also ended up coming out as non-binary. Which I'm sure we will get to questions about gender identity later, but it's like a kind of, for me, it's kind of like a blend of, like, I feel like it's like a balance of both gender identities, or both of the binary gender identities. Um, and yeah, ever since then, I've just kind of been, it's been, I think this year is 10 years since I came out as non-binary. Um, so it's been an interesting 10 years.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys so much. So I'll go ahead and start off with this question. So some folks might not be familiar with what LGBTQ plus Pride means. So I like to you guys to I want to ask you guys how would you define it to somebody who's not familiar with that term? And again, either one of you can go first.
Okay, I can talk about it. I think it's celebrating people for just who they are,
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
and acknowledging that it's interesting because my son, I always prayed for a gay son, and my first son came out as straight, and I was like, are you sure? But when my son, we've lived in communities where you can be whoever you are in Colorado, in California, and he doesn't understand why people have to fight for a right, like, because he's just felt accepted. But I think like if you talk to my family, people need to understand everyone, we're all just people. And there's really no reason to be so afraid. And I think that's what, for me, my experience is that what Pride does, is it just shows people that everyone's just human. I don't know. How would you say it, Tyler?
I was gonna say the same thing. I feel like it's about like being who you are. Um, I mean, obviously, like there gets into this whole like, well, if you're not in the community, then like, is Pride for you? But it's like Pride isn't about whether you're in or not in the community. It's about coming together and like being okay with everybody being themselves and being okay with that. Like, um, I mean, I think one of the first times that I ran an event similar to this one, like I asked Stacy to be on the panel and she was like, I don't know how I can contribute here. And like, didn't you end up getting most of the questions? Like,
I I did. I mean, I definitely got a lot of questions, and I'm not necessarily a speaker here today, but
no, I know
yeah,
that. I think you
yeah.
got a lot of questions and almost kind of underestimated the role of being like an ally who has a family member who is adjacent or in the community. And I feel like that happens a lot and then they feel excluded from Pride and then it kind of creates this divide that Amy and I have been kind of talking about how we want to try and like erase that divide a little bit more with what we're doing.
It, by the way, I unless I missed it, you just happened to touch exactly on the question that was asked in the chat. Did you see that question in the chat? What
I did, but
role
I didn't intentionally answer it.
what role does allyship, sorry to take over, Adriel, for just a quick second. What role does allyship play, and what are your individual views on what makes an effective allyship? So what does it mean for each of you? So since we're on that topic, sorry to jump in there, Adriel.
Yeah, it's interesting. My son we lived in a really liberal part of Colorado. And my son was really involved in the allyship. I thought he was not straight, probably gay since he was 3 years old. I was hopeful. And he started as, in that ally group, but I'm just like, oh, I think those middle school ally groups are super helpful. My experience, I don't know what it's like in the rest of the country, and it worries me, honestly. As things change, as the climate changes and it feels a little more dangerous. I don't know. I am interested to see what that's like in other places because it's pretty positive here in Colorado.
Yeah, New York is also I mean, we have pockets of like non-accepting areas, but it's not that intense in the same way that like maybe Texas or Florida would be. Um, it's so funny. One of my friends was moving to Florida and was like, "You should come too." I'm like, "No." No.
Thanks.
Um, but I think the biggest thing I think is that people who want to be allies feel like they can't be because they feel like they need to come in already knowing everything. And
Mm.
that's and I feel like there's this like illusion of a barrier to entry and no one knows what to do about it. Um, I think that's probably the biggest, I think, hurdle to even having more allies. And I think that really anybody can be an ally, whether you're in the community or not, anybody can be an ally. Like it's just a matter of supporting the people who need that support. It doesn't, you don't have to know everything. You don't have to be going out and like coordinating marches and protests. Like you just, even just being here to learn more. Like I think that goes a long way as far as even just showing that you want to be an ally, which makes you an ally. Like I think it's more the intent than anything else. And I don't think that that part gets talked about enough.
Wow, that was a really good answer. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. So I know we've talked about, or we briefly touched upon, I know Tyler, you briefly touched upon like how like there's certain pockets within New York that might not be as accepting. So my next question is, how would you introduce the concept of LGBTQ plus pride to people who might already be bigoted against it? I know this might be loaded, but how would you guys introduce this topic?
Tyler, I don't have to go first every time. Okay, so I think about my family. I come from a very religious family. They don't really, I probably create a barrier also because I don't trust that they're going to be kind to my children. I would like to ask them questions about their fear, and if they could drop the judgment in order to have a relationship, what is the cost of not accepting someone? And is it worth it to them? Maybe it is. It's a sad state to me, but I would just like to ask questions of them and get honest answers and make them not feel afraid of me and my kids. I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think for me, the way I tend to approach things is like I like to say, like meeting people where they are. So trying to understand and this kind of ties into your thing about fear too. Because you don't know necessarily where someone's coming from with any sort of a bigoted statement, without actually like talking to them about it. So like there could just be somebody who literally just like saw some meme on the internet and didn't realize that like it was an actual bigger thing, or it could be somebody who is like in a much more like unaccepting like upbringing or household or what have you, that that's how they learned it. And then there are some people who like in either category who will stick to that versus like just having a conversation. They'll kind of turn around and be like, oh, well, I didn't really know that before. And then they'll start to think about it. And that's part of why I like the like if I want someone to have patience with me, I need to have patience with them too, because you don't always know going into it. And if you're meeting hate with hate, you're just breeding more hate. So it doesn't really actually accomplish the goal of getting more people to understand and be allies, and or even just be accepting in general, like whether or not they want to actually do anything to be an ally. Um, but even just to stop hating. So I think it's really just a everybody calming down and having a conversation.
Can I just say something? Tyler, you know what I get a lot of? Oh, the they them. Oh, the they them. I can't put it in a sentence. Oh, it's so confusing. It's like, is it really?
It's not.
Is it
I
that like
My favorite when that happens is when like two sentences later they use it like as a neutral pronoun in a sentence and
right,
don't even think about it. And I'm like, you just did it. You just
there
did
you
it
go.
right there.
Right. Right. If it really makes someone happy.
Right, right.
Yeah. But on
Awesome.
that same vein, it's like coming from the perspective of someone who uses they them pronouns, like there are a lot of people who will get very agitated when someone doesn't immediately just get their pronouns correctly. And like coming from the standpoint of having like looked at linguistic things, it like pronouns are the hardest part of language, or one of the hardest parts of language to actually unlearn and relearn and change. So again, that kind of patience piece comes into it where it's like I can't just walk up to somebody and be like, use these pronouns now. Like it's not, it doesn't work like that, like neurologically. Like
Right.
Right, right.
Right.
Awesome. All right, thank you guys. So let's see. So when we first began the event, Stacy mentioned a certain statistic where a lot of like LGBTQ plus adults came out around the age of 20 or around that age to close friends or family members, yet they felt like they might not be straight at an earlier age. So how can we best help, these sorts of people who might not be, comfortable for whatever reason coming out, right?
I actually have in my community, I have an entire space that's literally just called coming out. And no matter how many times that you feel the need to do it, like you could just go in there and be like, I'm gay, I'm trans, like whatever, like come out as many times as you need to, just to have that safe space to like just get it off your chest and practice or whatever you need to do. Um, and I always find that like one of the most interesting things that people don't think about. And also how many times that you actually do come out. Like you don't just come out the one time. You come out like literally every time that you need to explain it to somebody.
It's true. I have a friend who just came out, he's in his 60s, that I used to work with. Has an ex-wife and kids. We always would ask him, are you sure? So none of us are surprised and just kind of happy for him. Yeah, it's finding that accepting community where you can be yourself.
Yeah.
Guys, we did also get a question about how two men can be sexual for the first time. Sham, I have to just make a comment. My son was involved in a not great chat room when he was in high school, so I'd be really careful with that. The
Yeah.
chat
I
rooms.
I also don't know that we can necessarily give that kind of like health advice here.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, the general safety rules apply across genders, though. I will say that. Um, but we're not medical experts.
Not.
Um, and we don't generally work with that level of, I guess, the depth of sexuality. It's just kind of the surface of like it's there. Um,
Be
but
safe
I,
and
yeah,
I'll just add to that and say it's great to know to ask that question, because there's some people
yes,
who
oh,
don't
that's so
think
true,
to
Stacy.
answer the question. So good for you for
yes.
wanting to ask that question, and there are definitely places that are also safe spaces where you can ask those kinds of questions. So yeah, they're out there.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. And yeah, so I also wanted to point out like another statistic as well, or another um a fact was that the Trevor Project conducted a national survey on LGBTQ youth mental health in 2021, and of nearly like 35,000 13 to 24-year-olds, and it was very sad statistic as well, and kind of brings out about the seriousness of the issue as well, and basically pointed out like 42% of those respondents reported that they seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year. So leading up from that, I also wanted to ask, is there certain things that we might not be paying much attention to right now that we really should be, you know?
I think the general climate just has a lot of the community scared right now. And it's not even necessarily always in an overt way. And there are a lot of people who will, if you're in somewhere that's considered more safe, like New York or Colorado, that people will be like, oh, well, you live here, so you have nothing to be worried about. Or like, I mean, even people who are like on the conservative end of things are like, oh, well, that's not what it's trying to do, so you have nothing to worry about. Like, I think even just hearing people right now is important because there's and like reaching out because there's so much that like we don't say. Um, and sometimes we don't even realize we're not saying it.
What about you, Amy?
Yeah, I
I'm
see you
trying to think,
chewing on
what
that one.
exactly is the question?
Yeah, so it basically just like I got you. So it's like, is there certain things that we might not be paying much attention to in regards to like LGBTQ plus pride that we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, yeah.
Can I actually jump in? I so should have been a
Please.
panelist. What was I thinking, Tyler, for not being a panelist on this? Um,
That's what I said in the beginning.
I know you totally said that to me. So, I have whatever, I know somebody who's a teacher who asked me, and, um, somewhat, my son, when he was younger, he used to uh, sometimes present female, and, it's like, well, what could we do to support kids? And so he asked me that. And one of the things, thanks for spotlighting me, no pressure now. One of the things I said is have a pride flag on your desk if you're a teacher,
Mhm.
or a sticker on your window of your car, or just, it's a symbol, right? That means you
Yeah.
could be a safe space. And I know my daughter was in school and she had one teacher who had the flag on their desk, and a substitute came in and took the flag off. And she was just like, okay, I guess I know where this person stands. Like, he was a substitute over multiple, like, for a few weeks. And she was like, okay, that's a message right there, not only to not have it, but also to take it off when it's there. But yeah, just having that thought, that flag.
Yeah. I was gonna say, do you want me to tell the story of my first day in your class?
It's up to you.
So our first assignment was like an impromptu introduce your name and why your name is your name. And like at this point I was like, I'm terrified of public speaking. I was like, don't want to do this. Like, don't want to talk in front of the room. And there were like three other people who had the same name, and then there was another person named Tyler. So the three of the people with the same name went together, and then the other Tyler went. And I was like, well, now I have to go. So, and like literally as I'm walking up, I have this moment of like, there's not a single person in this room who chose their own name. In theory, like no, none so far, but there's nobody else here who's done that. So I kind of had that like unique spin on it that I could draw from. And I was still super terrified and shaking the whole time I was up there, but like I felt good about it, probably for the first time ever public speaking. And I don't know that I realized it until we were working on our assignment during the week for the next week, but Stacy had like smiled, like
Mhm.
grinning while I was doing this, and I didn't like register right away. But even just that, it's like, I mean, after that, now I'm here. Um, 10 years later, I'm here. Um, and like it was like I was leaving high school, was already kind of out to a couple of people there, and I didn't know where to build that kind of community again in college. And it was like a religious affiliated institution. So I was like, what am I gonna do? Um, so it was just even just that, like it's not even outright LGBT related in any way, but like even just small things like that will stand out. And
Small? Tyler, that's so
it
brave.
was a small,
Love
no,
that
okay,
spirit to selfless.
small on, not on
My
my
part.
part.
Big
Yeah,
on
small
Tyler's
on the other,
part, small on my
yeah,
part.
small on the other person's part, not my part. Um, Something like that you don't even think about, like just smiling, like while somebody's sharing who they are. Like, and I don't even know that I realized at the time that that's what I was doing. Like, like it wasn't like it didn't register as I'm coming out to this room of like 20 people. It was, oh, cool. I'm just like, I actually have like my own answer here. Like, um, but you don't think about things like that. So,
Wow, awesome.
My
Thanks.
son's best friend is a non-binary, his best friend from high school, and the parents would not get on board with like the father is a military guy in particular. He would just always say my son, like, and it's just realizing the bravery that it takes to say, this is me. Like, this is me. Like, that's so brave. Just accept that person. That's your own flesh and blood. Like, love that person. You love that person as a son, you can love that person non-binary too. It's the exact same person. So, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And
Awesome.
putting yourself out there, like if you see somebody might be struggling, then if you see somebody might be struggling, to just put yourself out there and say, hey, by the way, I know it's a big school, and if or it's a large office or whatever it is, and you may not know a lot of people here. So if you ever need any help with anything, I'm here. You can reach out to me. A little coded, not coded, if you're not sure about but to put yourself out there to say, you're a safe space, or you can relate. And on the flip side of it, I would say also don't expect somebody to come out to you. They don't have to. It's not a requirement. I'm straight. I've never had to come out to anybody except maybe just now, to make my point. But
Right.
nobody has to come out to you. They don't owe, just because they're in the LGBTQ plus community doesn't mean they owe you to come out to them. And I think a lot of people, like, and I can't believe they never even told me they were gay. Like, they don't have to. That's not a rule.
Right.
And that imposition on them is not fair. Like, they can do whatever they want. They can, just invite you to their wedding, and it might be a, same-sex person there, and that's okay. Like, so anyway, great questions,
Awesome.
Adriel.
Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to this other question. So at Inform Your Community, we try to find a space for humor in everything that we do. So I wanted to ask if you guys know any sort of LGBTQ plus jokes, if at
Right.
all.
It's a good joke. I don't have a good.
Jokes.
Okay.
There are some people who, after they get top surgery, they'll post, glad I got that off my chest.
That's a good one.
Um, there are some funny ones. Sometimes you don't get it if you're not in the community, though.
That's
I
fair.
actually have a folder of memes, so let me
Awesome.
find that.
For sure. Awesome. Yeah.
I'm all out of jokes. I don't have any.
That's sometimes also the privilege of membership, right? Maybe Amy and me don't have that privilege,
Totally.
right? Like,
Yes.
I
Yeah,
don't have a book of those jokes.
yeah. There are a lot of them that go around, like when someone will post something that's like kind of ambiguous, and then they're like with like something clearly like gendered male and clearly gendered female next to it. There's like, the three genders. Would be like a flower, a football, and then like a band-aid or something, and it's like, the three genders.
It's great.
That's funny. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Thanks for sharing some of those jokes. That was pretty funny. Okay, so another question that I like to ask is, yeah. So when do you guys think that LGBTQ plus became more frequently understood or addressed as an issue? And do you like when do you think, like, what exactly might have been like the turning point? What do you guys think?
So I have to tell you, once again, I'm old.
Say, I don't think I'm old enough to answer this question.
Right. It was really not accepted when I was in the 80s. It was like not talked about. Somebody would have a boyfriend, but you didn't really talk about it. And even in 2004 in California, we had Prop 8, which was banning same-sex marriage, and it passed, which I was shocked. The Mormon Church was pretty involved in putting money toward that. But one thing that I think about that's not exactly LGBTQ plus is when Magic Johnson got AIDS. So before that, the president would even say, or, you know, like all these religious figures would say, my friend's dads even said, you know, AIDS is here because being gay is bad, or lesbian, whatever you are. If you're not straight, white male, honestly, you're bad. And God has sent AIDS to kill you. And then Magic Johnson, star of the Los Angeles Lakers, gets HIV, and everybody's like, wait, what? Like, it just kind of opened people's eyes. And then I would also say that when Ellen came out on TV, that was a big moment in pop culture. All of a sudden, people just started coming, it just became more accepted, I would say. Do you have anything? Those are the ones that I really remember. The Magic Johnson, like the HIV thing was so bad. It was so bad to live through.
I will say the year that or rather even the day that like at the federal level same-sex marriage was legalized was literally like the
Yeah.
morning after my senior prom. So I just
Oh,
remember like waking up to that news the next day.
yeah.
But I mean, I don't know that I'm, I guess, old enough to have been aware of any like major shift in that same way that you would be. Like that, like even the things that you've met, like I don't know of those things happening. Like I don't have any sort of like cultural memory of them going on. Like I knew Ellen was out. I don't remember the moment of Ellen coming out, but I knew Ellen was out.
It
So
was a
like,
big moment,
yeah, I
And
don't have that frame of reference.
right?
I stayed up for the whole vote. I watched every single person
Uh,
go up and
Yeah.
vote. I would say sometimes it also doesn't have to be like a huge celebrity thing either. For the first time for me, and I didn't introduce myself, so since I am being spotlighted right now, somewhat against my will, I should introduce myself. So
You have the power to turn it off.
I was tempted to. I thought you guys would yell at me. I'm well, I told you a little bit about myself, but I'm also an expert on stereotypes. So I always say that my son is like the luckiest person in the LGBTQ community in the world to have a mom who studies stereotypes, because it made things a lot easier when he was younger. That I could hear the stereotypes almost before they happened in relation to him. But one of the first times that was like really like whoa to me is I was on the train with my son and my daughter, and there was a guy on the train dressed with female oriented accessories and makeup, but not to pass as a woman. And that wasn't that long ago. Maybe it was 10 years ago, maybe
Yep.
8. And that was huge for me because it wasn't somebody dressed up for Halloween. It wasn't somebody dressed up for the Pride Parade. I'm in Manhattan after all. It wasn't somebody passing. It was a man just saying, I feel like wearing this. And that's kind of what my son has always been, really. And so it was like, and there wasn't a lot of, it wasn't a lot of, what do I want to say? Like people weren't looking at him, like nobody paid any attention to him whatsoever. And I left the train and I was like, holy cow, that's cool. So that was something for me.
I actually wonder, I mean, you guys would probably know better than me. Did the musical Rent change people's perspectives in any way?
Like
Okay.
musicals.
I know
Remember?
you don't like musicals, but I didn't know if you heard about it.
Remember
It
the show?
it in the city, like in Manhattan, I don't know if it
Okay.
really, I don't know how much it traveled in the early days of it. So,
Okay.
but in Manhattan, it was like a thing.
Okay. That actually makes me think of another thing I saw the other day where someone was like, I've prepared my whole life for this. My 4-year-old just asked me how many minutes are in a year.
That's another good joke. I like that one.
Right. So somebody at my work that we all knew who was an engineer. I used to live in Los Angeles and worked on this TV show. He lived as a woman for a year. You couldn't have any surgeries until you lived as you were going to live for a year. And it was really rough for him. It was really rough for him. And we had never met anyone like that before. And there was a lot of, training for employees, but oh, I'm so glad those things are done. I'm so glad those things are done. It's just really nice now. And hopefully we can continue
Yeah,
on the right trend.
of course, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to highlight like two other like turning points as well, and then we can move on. So like in 1969, the so there was this thing called the Stonewall riots, which were like a series, for those who don't know, were a series of spontaneous demonstrations by members of like the gay community in response to police raid that began in like June 28th, 1969, in Stonewall at the Stonewall Inn, in like the Greenwich Village neighborhood of New York City. And then also in 1970, Craig Rodwell and his partner Fred Sargent, Ellen Brody, and Linda Rhodes proposed like the first gay pride parade to be held in New York City by way of like of a resolution at the Eastern Regional Conference of Homophobic Organizations, or ERCO for short. And this started a meeting in Philadelphia. So I guess there's another question I have for you guys. Is I would say I would ask, how can an increased sense of of LGBTQ plus pride benefit society or change the discourse around it? And do you have like this sort of like a related story or experience about this?
I can't imagine that it can't benefit society. I can't imagine how it
Yeah.
wouldn't benefit society. Like,
Yeah.
and not just in the arts. Look at Pete Buttigieg. Like, our governor in
Yeah.
Colorado is an openly gay married man with kids. Like,
Yeah. I think
it's
Sarah McBride too, right? Um,
Michelle, I see that, and there's a documentary on Netflix. There's also, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Milk. It's about the first openly gay politician in San Francisco in the
yeah.
70s.
There's
Um,
also Freeheld, which is very interesting because it had Elliot Page in it when he was still female.
mhm.
Um, and it kind of follows like the what happened when you couldn't get married and couldn't have those shared benefits and things like that. And it was very, very well done, I think.
What was that called, Tyler?
Freeheld.
Okay.
I believe Laura Dern is also in it.
And the one Michelle put in the chat is called Will and Harper.
Yes.
Oh, I saw that. That's great.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Michelle, for the recommendation.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Another question I have for you guys. So, hmm, I guess I would also ask, so like, are you able to tell, can you tell certain changes in how people treat or view LGBTQ plus that you might have witnessed or experienced?
Uh, I mean, I feel like I'm semi like attuned to see when things change as far as people communicating, but I don't know that I've had any major experiences where someone's just outright like kind of turned the conversation after I've come out. Um, I mean, I've definitely heard about it happening, and in some ways I feel like that's semi like could be like a stereotype on like the community's end where we just like expect it. Um, and it doesn't happen as often as you'd think that it would, at least here. Um, so I don't know.
That's fair. That's fair.
An
Yeah.
experience
What about you?
where what, Adriel? Say it again.
Yeah. So, any sort of changes in how people, treat or view LGBTQ plus that you might have witnessed or experienced yourself?
I can mention there's sometimes an overcorrection as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
it doesn't have to be in the negative direction.
yeah, so I know that I've been told that I was stopping my child from using they them pronouns. And I'm like, listen, I ask my kid, or I all the time when they were a child, I asked them, like, what do you want your pronoun? Do you want us to correct people when they misgender you? And every time he gives me the same answer, like, I'm not gonna like misgender him in another direction on purpose, right? But I've also had, but I've been yelled at that on at least one occasion. And then we also had a teacher of his who insisted, probably several teachers actually, who've insisted on using they them pronouns for him, even and like the first time and the second time, um, he'll correct them, and then after that he's just like, whatever, call me whatever the heck you want. Doesn't matter, I'm not going to keep correcting you. But yeah, and I'm like, that's equally kind of maybe not equally frustrating, but it's certainly also frustrating.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
for him.
cause then you're like someone's not believing you about your identity basically, and they like want you, they're trying to push you further into like a box
Right.
when like half the time the point is that we want out of the box. Like
Right. Right. Yeah.
it kind of happens like because I also like I'm a birth parent as well, so like it kind of happens a lot with like little kids and like pregnancy and things like that too. And the upside to being pregnant during COVID was that like I didn't have to be like out in public getting misgendered because I was pregnant. But um but then like you've got the things with like gender reveals and things like that, and like people kind of trying to just kind of push gender onto your baby, and then you've got like the movement of people who are like, we're gonna make our baby like not have a gender, and I'm like, that's still putting a gender on your baby. Like, um,
I find that also, take my family, if they heard that, I think it pushes people away sometimes
yeah,
when it goes that way.
absolutely.
I
And
think
it's
it,
like I knew with my family, like not a single one of them was gonna do they them pronouns for my child if I tried that. Like I knew not a single, maybe one of my aunts, maybe, and that'd probably be it. So it was like again with the kind of like patience thing, it's like, do I want to just fight with my family for the rest of however long until my child's old enough to make that decision on their own? Or am I like, do I just like let this just play out like the way that it's going to and not interfere? And I feel like while there definitely is something to be said for like raise your kid the way you want to raise your kid, um, but I feel like the non-interference in the gender or not gender aspect of it is probably the better way to go because you're not forcing it either way. Like you're just letting it happen and letting them just kind of choose their own thing. Like,
in a perfect world, right? Yeah.
yeah, it's like, I mean, one day we'll do dancing and the next day we'll do karate. Like, it's fine.
And the importance of books that reflect the different options.
Yeah.
So we had, I Am Jazz, and it was actually, it was I
Yeah.
Am Jazz had just come out when my son was young, and I was like, please let there be a book that helps, my family understand this at that age. And we donated them to the library at the school. So like they would understand better. And, at the time there was only like 2 or 3 books, about little boys who wore little girls' clothes.
I
And,
actually got yelled
you know.
at the other day that I can't be both because I'm stealing the gender from other people. This is toddler things. I can't
I
be
was gonna
both
say, I've
because I'm
heard Arya
stealing
say that, yeah.
I can't be both because then I'm stealing it from other people. So at least
Oh,
it's like
that
it's
makes me
semi
sad.
like it's I mean she's 4.
Yeah.
She's like, but then there won't be enough for everybody else. Like, well, I'm glad you're trying to share.
Yeah.
And there are certain kids who have a lot of difficulty with, then this gets into disability and things like that, and
Yeah.
being differently abled and such. It's like people who are on the spectrum, perhaps, who, they are sometimes may be very strict, like, no, but this is what this is.
Yes.
How is that something
Yeah.
different from that? And I know my son had a friend when he was young who they were really good friends for a few weeks. And then he decided to come into school one day wearing a dress. And that was it. And it wasn't, I wouldn't say she was homophobic or something. It was the fact that it wasn't rigid, and she was on the spectrum, and not having rigid categories was very difficult for her. And she couldn't do it. So yeah, so that's a part of it too. And I think in general, what it sounds like what we're saying in this part of this is like, hey, let's be open to flexible,
Right.
and like Tyler said, patience and understanding and being curious and those kinds of things.
My son's best friend in middle school is trans and never told my son, who my son would have cared less,
I
but was
remember this
so
story.
scared, just so scared of, and even had top surgery. While my son knew him, I was just so afraid. And it just breaks my heart.
Doesn't your son still not know?
Oh, it's not my news to tell.
No, but I'm saying he still doesn't know,
He
right?
still doesn't know. Yeah. They grew apart in high school. Yeah, he never found out, which it just broke my heart that everybody just can't be themselves, Everybody should just be able to be themselves, whoever that is. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, thank you. I think we have a few minutes left, so I'll probably ask just one more question, and then we could just, end it there.
Yeah,
So,
and if anybody else has questions in the audience, feel free
oh
to
yeah,
put them in the chat. I mean, I know
yeah,
you've kind of been doing a good job of doing that, but as we're winding down, if there are any other things that you have to ask, by all means.
yeah, of course, of course. So, last question. So, when it comes to LGBTQ plus Pride, what are some things that we should all be doing that we should be doing that we haven't mentioned yet? And what are some LGBTQ plus related best practices that people can utilize to, I guess, navigate some of these challenges?
I don't know how this is to bring up. You guys can tell me if this isn't, but my son went to a performing arts high school, and there was not, sexual health just wasn't really taught. And he didn't know about PrEP. I had to tell him about PrEP. And I just wish we could keep people physically safer and educated.
I mean, I
Apparently
didn't know about PrEP until I worked in a place that had information about PrEP.
right.
Like this was like after college. Like,
Yeah, it's wild.
yeah.
Well,
So-
just for those who don't know, who might be watching this, can you tell us what PrEP means?
Well, my son takes PrEP now. I did live through the HIV crisis, so it's important to me. it nearly impossible to become infected with HIV.
Hmm.
As a gay, I think gay men take it. That's who I think takes it.
Hmm.
And I was shocked that no one, it's a school full. I asked one Colorado actually, which is an LGBTQ plus, information center here, and they said it's too controversial. I was like, oh my gosh. That's one thing I wish we could change, Adriel.
Mm.
And Michelle just mentioned that there's PrEP for cis women now.
Oh,
I mean,
great.
I would imagine that people who are also in a relationship with someone who is HIV positive would take it.
That's true, regardless of.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm not a doctor. Like, I don't know the specifics of it, but I know there are ways for people who are together and one is positive and one is not to not transmit it.
Mm.
Um,
Good further research. Good
Mhm.
further
Yes.
research.
yeah. I feel like
Right.
there are a lot of things that don't get talked about that we could probably sit here for another several hours.
Yeah.
And
100%. Yeah.
Michelle noted it is part of a system of prevention for HIV only. Thank you for sharing that. I will say in New York, my kids, they just made new rules, I don't know, 5 years ago, gender inclusive guidelines. I forget the exact name of them, but now health class is co-ed in New York City, which I think is
Oh,
great.
health class
Great.
was co-ed for us on Long Island,
Really?
like the whole time. Yeah.
Huh.
And we learned about, I mean, we learned more about like STDs than anything else as far as like sexuality goes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Good.
actually, Adriel, I think we might have to wrap it up. Yeah.
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 So I was
Well,
like, hand it all back to you. Oh,
Michelle, did you have a question? Because I saw you unmuted before.
It's okay. You don't have
Hey, you don't have to.
to.
I
Okay.
was just trying to write out the PEP abbreviation, what it means, post-exposure prophylaxis. My question to you all is how, and you can choose to answer this or not, how are you advancing your awareness with the other populations who identify as LGBTQ plus? Because the sentiments and conversations expressed today with your offering is very one-sided. And I'm just curious to find out, how are you developing your own lives and understanding that the perspective that you share today is very monolithic, and working with BIPOC people who identify as LGBTQA plus in this country right now with the political climate, it is frightening. And my prayer to you is that you expand your awareness.
Thank you for sharing that, Michelle. Very appreciated. And indeed, part of our opportunity to expand is to hear from our audience. So I'm so grateful for you to say that. Also, we're going to be sending out an infographic, which will have some additional information on it. So, and actually, we'd love your feedback on that. Certainly, you've been able to contribute a lot in the chat, so we'd love your feedback to know more about how we can be more representative in that infographic. So you'll get access to that. We'll send that out in an email afterwards, maybe in a few days. So thank you so much for sharing that, Michelle. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Stacy. And it's very easy to do, when you look around your rooms and you just see people who look like you, something is
Absolutely.
wrong. You're just going to get reverberations of your own ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
Make friends, cultivate friendships that with people who don't look like you, you know?
Yep.
Thank you.
That's where the real love begins
Yeah.
and work.
Thank you so much,
Definitely,
Michelle.
definitely agree. I recently made a newer friend who is in the community, but is a person of color as well. And the perspectives are so we have such interesting conversations. We really do.
Well, I want to take a minute since we're at the end of the event, unless Amy or Adriel, you wanted to have any other final words? You're good.
I'm set.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you, folks, for coming. Thank you. I think Michelle was our also, we had some add-on presenters today. I was an add-on presenter accidentally, and Michelle too, accidentally. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being a part of this Inform Your Community event. We are so grateful to have everyone here. Thank you, Adriel, for your wonderful questions, and of course, to Amy and Tyler, our wonderful guests. And thank you for allowing me to have some 2 cents in here as well. We hope you enjoyed this discussion and discussing some of the nuances. And of course, we do recognize that there are so many dimensions of this topic, and thank you, Michelle, for bringing that to our, to making sure that got voiced today. So I appreciate that as well. And some of the values that we associate with the LGBT community, things like marriage equality, equal rights, pride in their community, avowed identities, and our reclamation of identities and terminology are really important things to understand about the LGBTQ community. Additionally, we encourage you to find out more about this topic. Coming to this event or watching this event on YouTube is a wonderful way to start, but you can also do this by reaching out to those who are having a difficult time, telling them kind words, letting them know that you're available to talk. You can also show your support online in social media or in person with the LGBT community by using inclusive language, sharing your own pronouns, and by avoiding gender binary language. We're going to help you continue your education by sending you that infographic I just mentioned, as well as getting access to that YouTube video you'll be able to see, to share this with your friends if you'd like. And we encourage you to complete a brief survey that you'll have at the in that email we'll send out, but there's also one that just popped up right now. We encourage you to take that survey for us. These are going to be different questions than the one you're getting mailed. So please take a minute to take the survey that's on your screen right now. And we have plenty of events that inform your community, not just our know-it-all events, but also other events, our children's crafting I mentioned earlier, our adults crafting. So we encourage you to come to those. We have our next event is our Much to Discuss Disability and Accessibility Game Night, which is going to be on May 29th at 6:30 p.m. And you can also find out more about future events, not only our online events, but also we have in-person events in New York and soon to be Orlando. So we look forward to seeing you in person as well. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please do like and subscribe, share it with others. Please consider donating to help cover the cost of the materials when we do have our craft events. Help keep the event free for those who can't donate. And we want to thank you for coming. Thank you for our wonderful audience today. And thank you for our speakers. And Adriel, as always, really appreciate your excellent questions. Have a wonderful, wonderful night, everybody.